Good morning. It is Thursday, 9 a.m. on the East Coast, and I hope you're off to a great start today, the 16th day of January. And what a start to 2025 it has been here in the East Coast. It's been very, very cold, especially in the mid-Atlantic. Of course, we've had the wildfires. That continues to be a big story out west. And there are some other things we're going to be talking about as well. Let's get to our weather topics, and starting with the coldest air that we've seen so far this season. This morning, Norfolk hit the low. I'll talk about that. That old polar vortex responsible for the cold weather and is going to bring another round as we get into next week. We'll talk about that. All right, in Hawaii this morning, there's been a volcanic eruption. We'll talk about that, show you some pictures. Beautiful. It's always spectacular to see, but if you're interested in hearing more about that, we've got some pictures and a little story to share with you. And then we're getting back to the California wildfires. Again, an update on the wind conditions. If you have family or friends out there on the West Coast, maybe you're tuning in from California. This presentation we make here, the Weather Desk, available to anyone that can find us online or with our mobile apps. We've got our 13 News Now Plus app available to stream internationally. So some folks may be tuning in. Some good news with the wind field today, and I'll talk about that. We also have some more eyewitness accounts from photographers that have been taking these pictures, and it's going to be interesting to hear from them as well. Also, you know, these wildfires can create their own kind of minor weather phenomena, like they can change the patterns within the larger patterns that we forecast. We're going to explain why coming up. Evan Stewart's got a great story or a little explainer on how fires can actually change the weather. So stay tuned for that. Also, more winter weather chances for Hampton Roads over the coming 10 days. I'll talk about that. And the uncertainties. It is not a lock. You remember last week we were so confident we were going to see snow. It came in. We got the amounts we were forecasting. This situation here in the coming 10 days is certainly going to be cold, and there will be some opportunities for some more wintry weather. We'll talk about that, but why it's also not a guarantee this time. It's a little bit different, so plenty to get into. Our first topic, though, this Arctic blast and more Arctic air to come. Now, we talk about this, and I mentioned how cold it was this morning. Take a look at this national map. These are typically the coldest days of winter based on climatology. You'll notice in December, these areas out west shaded in the pinks and these darker purples, this is where they tend to average the coldest air during, or the coldest temperatures through the winter. All right, when you come through the central part of the country, Texas and some parts of Colorado and Utah, parts of northern New Mexico, it's more like after the first of the year. Takes a little bit longer. The coldest air really settles in for the eastern half a little later in the winter season. And you'll notice for Hampton Roads, we're kind of in this purple to almost teal type color right in here. All right, for our area, January 15th through the 20th, we average the lowest temperatures throughout the year. And the normal high is now 50, which it has been for a little while, but our normal low is now 33, and that's as cold as it gets, typically throughout the year for Hampton Roads. So I bring this up because right on cue this morning, Norfolk at the International Airport fell to 19 degrees. That was at 4:51 this morning, their report. So at the airport, hitting 19, that's as cold as it's been. The previous low so far this season, I believe, was 22, and this is obviously colder than that. Now, here's the kicker. We've got some more action coming up over the next week, and it's possible that we could have even colder conditions next Tuesday into Wednesday. Now, I mentioned the polar vortex, and we talked a little bit about it earlier in the week, kind of what it is, but my colleague, Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandagis from 13 News Now, takes a closer look at the polar vortex.
Have you ever wondered why some winters seem to hit us with intense, bone-chilling cold while others are more bearable? Well, a lot of it has to do with something called the polar vortex. The polar vortex is this massive area of really cold air high up in the atmosphere. Normally, it hangs out way above the North Pole, spinning like a giant icy carousel. This spinning motion is super important because it's part of what keeps that freezing air contained up north. But here's where things get interesting. Our friend the polar vortex, well, doesn't work alone. It's closely tied to the jet stream, a fast-moving river of air that flows high above the Earth. When When the jet stream is strong, it acts like a sturdy fence. This happens because of big pressure differences between warmer and colder air, which keep the jet stream moving fast and straight. That fence does a great job of keeping the polar vortex and all that cold air right where it belongs, in the Arctic. But when the jet stream weakens, it's a whole different story. A weakened jet stream gets wobbly like a loose rope in the wind. And when that happens, it can't hold back the polar vortex as well. The cold air starts spilling south, reaching places it normally wouldn't. That's when we get those frigid Arctic blasts. Those days when it feels like your eyelashes might freeze just from stepping outside. So the next time you're bundled up during a deep freeze, you can thank or blame the polar vortex and its dance with the jet stream. Science, right? Always keeping us on our toes, or in this case, extra warm socks. Stay cozy out there. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages.
All right, Tim, appreciate that. Look at how chilly it was for our inland areas. West Point down to 10 degrees. It was 13 in Newport News, Wakefield, Franklin. Chesapeake down to 11. Virginia Beach, that's at Oceana, 18 degrees. So we had sub-freezing temperatures all the way through the Outer Banks. I mean, there was no getting away from the cold this morning, and it was dangerously cold inland. Again, we're going to see a little bit of a warm-up for the next few days, but then another blast, maybe even lower temperatures the middle of next week. It's something to consider. All right, I want to show you our month so far in January. We started off at midnight with a high on the first, right around 58. Temperatures plummeted through the afternoon and stayed cold. You can see through the following week or so, up through the first 12 days. The 13th day, we got back up to 51. We've been below average the past couple of days. We'll stay there today and again tomorrow. By Saturday, I expect a high around 53, so that'll be our third day above average, and then it turns colder again as we go Sunday into Monday, and the deepest cold weather pool to come down, that polar vortex spilling south again into the middle of next week. Get ready for that. You can see it here as we take a look at the almanac. 50 is normal, 33 the low. Look at what happens here with that cold air spilling southward. It's happening. And again, you can see as we put the winds on how this northwest flow is setting up these cold conditions, and everybody basically to the north here just socked in with this Arctic air. So how about the temperature trend over the next 10 days? I mentioned today low to mid 40s, so close to maybe a little bit warmer than what we saw yesterday, and that was after this frigid morning. It'll warm up a little bit. 47 by Friday, 53 on Saturday. Chance for a few showers. We've got another system coming through at the front, and then that next blast of cold air, and you're looking at highs in the mid to upper 20s. Those lows likely down into the teens and maybe even lower teens, even closer to the coast. So that likely to be the coldest air that we get all winter, potentially. And then we start to warm it back up after that. So a lot to watch here, and we will keep you updated. Quick look out over the next 8 to 14 days. Again, still below average for most of the east. You notice the warmer weather above average for California and Nevada, and it is going to be warmer than average, it looks like, down for South Florida as well. Everybody else near normal or below normal as we look out in that 8 to 14 day stretch. All right, that's what's happening right there. We're going to take our attention now to our next topic. We've got a couple of national stories we want to touch on. We were talking about the California fires. We're going to come back to that. I want to start with a look at this video of lava from Hawaii, and you can see it was spewing out of a volcano in Hawaii. The eruption began December 23rd in a crater at the summit, but paused periodically. Now, that's a live look that we have right now. That's a live feed from Hawaii, and you can see it is just spectacular. It resumed yesterday morning as a small, sluggish lava flow, and then increased into the fountain that you're seeing right now. And that's appearing at times to be around 200 feet high, according to the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. So something to see there in Hawaii. Again, at this point, Hawaii, the entire island chain, formed because of volcanoes. They have this. They observe these things. Again, it's not a tremendous threat right now, but an active volcano on Hawaii, and we did want to share that with you. Really incredible to see. All right, we're going to turn our attention to Los Angeles, and you see the gale winds here over my shoulder. The winds are finally dying down. Let me show you this very quickly. High pressure still to the north, lower pressure a little farther to the south. The pressure gradient, or the difference between the low and the high, not as great as it has been. So instead of these winds whipping along with the high wind warnings and the wind advisories we've seen this morning, I am happy to report that they do not have any wind alerts out across LA. All right, that is great news. So we do have some more information to share with you. Those winds finally dying down, but legal battles over this historic fire disaster are now ramping up. Here's ABC's Andrew Dimbert with the latest.
This morning, more federal aid is headed to the California fire victims who desperately need it.
We never imagined something like this happening, wiping out our entire community.
FEMA says it's received 53,000 applications for its individual assistance program, a one-time payment to cover costs for things like water, food, and infant formula. FEMA also activating a program paying for hotel rooms. And a major insurance company, State Farm, now says it will offer renewals, even to some homeowners it previously planned to drop. Crews are making progress fighting the two biggest fires. The Palisades fire was 21% contained overnight. The Eaton fire up to 45% contained. Many residents are frustrated they're not being allowed back to their neighborhoods. But we saw why. The fire zone is still so dangerous.
We have open gas lines, we have exposed water lines, and so they're evaluating each property to determine if it's safe to enter, even for the companies that are going to be coming to repair those.
Along the Pacific Coast Highway, crews searching the rubble for remains. Today, the family of Evelyn McClendon, who died trying to evacuate from the Eaton fire, is expected to file a wrongful death lawsuit. Her family suing Southern California Edison, claiming the power company failed to turn off utilities despite the high wind warning. Southern California Edison not commenting on the lawsuit, but saying, "Our hearts remain with our communities during the devastating fires."
We are talking to individuals about not just what they saw, but what they smelled and they heard.
The cause of each fire remains under investigation. Authorities say more than 150 leads have been generated from tips. Investigators looking into the Palisades fire have interviewed multiple witnesses. Many elementary school students impacted by the fires are now back in class as other schools around LA welcome them in, each of the kids with a story to tell.
Nightmares of no house and all my stuff being gone. My childhood memories might be gone.
Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
All right, and I also wanted to mention, as we hear from Andrew, and we've got some more images we're going to show you here in just a moment. Notice the red flag warnings that were up. At one point yesterday, they were up and down the whole California, southern and southwestern California area here, all shaded in red all the way down through San Diego. This morning, there's still a red flag warning north of LA, but you remember how we were talking about that PDS, the particularly dangerous situation? That is no longer because the winds are lighter. They still have the red flag warnings, though you don't want to obviously do any outdoor burning as they're trying to continue to contain and manage the fires that are ongoing. But it's not as dangerous a situation, and that is certainly a huge relief. Now, we do have some amazing still images that were taken from around LA. And as we take a look at some of these, it's just been incredible. The Associated Press journalists have been working hard these past few days, capturing horror and emotions of the LA fires. Let's hear from them.
And this photo of palm trees burning was one that stood out. The winds were what really stuck with me from the fires. They were wafting embers, block after block, starting new fires, homes burning one after another. And one of the things that we try and do as a photojournalist is to contextualize where we are and localize a story. And for me, the palm trees, really symbol of Los Angeles burning, was indicative of the times that we are in.
I chose it because it's one that really stood out to me. It was just a splash of color among, a sea of gray devastation.
Yeah, it's been something to see, and so many lives so impacted. Now, I wanted to mention one other thing. We talked yesterday about the fire-nados or tornadoes that can spin up when you get this rapidly rising warm air near the fires. Obviously, all that heat rises, and if you get the winds, you can get vortices. We actually had one that was captured from KABC, the helicopter there flying over the fires. It was amazing to see. Right now, the forecast is playing, as expected with the winds dying down. But with so much heat coming off of these fires, that can sometimes create their own microclimates and can have some impacts on how these fires behave. Evan Stewart, meteorologist Evan Stewart here at 13 News Now, took a closer look at that.
With the wildfires burning out west in California, you might have heard that wildfires can create their own weather. Well, it's true. One thing they can create, something called pyrocumulonimbus clouds, or basically thunderstorms that form because of the wildfires. As wildfires start to burn, they cause a plume of hot air and smoke to rise into the atmosphere. And as that warm air continues to rise, it cools, allowing clouds to form. And sometimes in an unstable atmosphere, those clouds can create thunderstorms. And those thunderstorms then create downbursts and heavy rain that can create windy conditions that can help exacerbate the wildfire situation. Sometimes the rain can actually put the fires out, but occasionally these storms can create lightning, which once again can spark additional fires.
All right, very interesting stuff there. It's something that does happen, and we look for that. Fortunately, right now, we're not seeing anything too crazy additionally to the fires. And with the winds easing, hopefully the firefighters will continue to gain upper hand on some of those flames, and eventually we'll get through this. All right, we're going to take a look at our next topics, and I say topics because a couple of things. We're going to look ahead. I'm going to tell you when and why you should look up. All right, something cool happening in the skies a little bit later on. But let's focus on the cold weather ahead. Here in Hampton Roads, increasing clouds as we head through the middle part of the day. It is going to be a bit milder. We've had this very cold air across the region. We talked about how it's coldest we've seen so far this year, early this morning around 5 o'clock in the morning. You've got to take steps to beat the cold today. We're still in the 20s for many, well, for some areas, we're starting to get up into the 30s, but we're going to see temperatures today staying below average. So beat the cold today. Have an umbrella handy for the weekend, and then know that there might be some areas with some mixing on Sunday, depending on how things play out. But there's still some questions ongoing about this, so it's really important you check back for updates. Those are your weather needs this week if you're around the middle part, the mid-Atlantic. Let's go over to the maps and talk about what's happening here with the satellite and the radar images. You can see a little bit of snow up around D.C., some flurries and light snow showers up there. Again, we look in up at D.C. with live looks occasionally, and we see a little something, certainly a lot grayer up that way right now. Snow into West Virginia, parts of western Pennsylvania and Ohio. Unsettled weather there. There's a trough. We have high pressure still in control, and with a little bit of a southwesterly direction with the winds here, that's going to bump our temperatures up over the next couple of days. Now, a lot of times we stay hyper local and just focus on Hampton Roads. I want to stay a little wider here because there is uncertainty in how things play out this weekend, but I think you get a better look at the players, kind of the ingredients coming together, why there's a good chance we'll see some wet weather and when we might see some wintry weather. We take a look here at the graph model. Again, there are those increasing clouds we're going to see around midday today into the early to mid-afternoon. By late afternoon, those are going to clear out, and we're going to see clearing skies for tonight. Another chilly morning tomorrow, but it's going to be a lot warmer. Remember, this morning, we were like around 12 or 13 degrees for inland areas. Near the coast, we were in the upper teens to near 20. So tomorrow, with the clear skies, it's going to be chilly, but instead of being near 20, it should be closer to 30 at the coast with 20s inland, about 10 degrees warmer than what we saw this morning. Still chilly, but not as cold. As you can see through the day Friday, we're in for a lot of sunshine. Easy enough, right? And not just here in Hampton Roads, but up and down the mid-Atlantic and for the southeast U.S., things are looking pretty good. As we go late Friday into Saturday, we've got our next storm system, and this is where it gets a little more interesting. Early on Saturday, we're going to be dry. I think it'll be fine in the morning. But as the day continues, we're going to see clouds pushing in, and we're going to eventually see chances for spotty showers. showers. Now, probably not a lot of that during the early morning, but as we go, say 10:30, 11 o'clock, you see a little bit of this starting to pop up, some more moisture out to the west. Looks like the rain's going to come through. That's what the models have been saying. We would deal with rain during the afternoon. We'll watch it, how the graph plays out. Yeah, we have some scattered showers there around lunchtime, but a lot of the moisture the model is now carrying to the south and really sets it up with the deeper moisture offshore. Little disturbance back across West Virginia, but it's not looking too ominous here late Saturday. That's with the latest graph model, which is one of our medium to higher res models here that we're looking at. When you take a look at some of the other models, the global models, I'll show you what they look like in a moment, but I just wanted to mention as we get into early Sunday, you see a little more cloud cover there, but you don't really see the snow forming just yet. Now, here's what the American model, the GFS, says about the weekend. Again, Saturday, earlier, the model had rain across the area. Now it's kind of following that other trend, keeping the rain a little farther to the south. Maybe a surge of showers late Saturday. You see that coming up. As we look ahead to Sunday, early, some mix back across the Piedmont, maybe back towards the mountains there in western Virginia. You see how the snow fills in. This is the GFS model with showers developing Sunday, and then that mix coming in Sunday night. We look ahead to early Monday. It's through. Okay, that's the latest American model, and this is a bit beefier from what I came into earlier this morning. It looks like it's starting to generate a little bit more, so confidence again maybe goes up a little bit more for Sunday. We'll take a look at the European model, and here's the latest on that. Again, the rain, a lot of it, again, missing us down to the south and west. That was a change from previous, and you'll see it kind of swings it off and says, okay, not a big deal for late Saturday. Remember, the GFS keeps the showers in, and previous models had even more, including what I just showed you with that other kind of higher res model, the graph. Here's a look at Sunday, and here again, some mix. It looks like chances for snow across central Virginia. A break here, but maybe some mixing late and chances for snow showers into the evening. So both the GFS and the Euro do bring something in, but to what extent? How far south that cold air is and how it arrives when the moisture comes in. There's just a lot of question as to what's going on. Again, we're drier as we get into Monday morning. We're in good shape. Now, to tell you, the past several days, I think the last 3 days or so, there's been a little tug of war between the morning model runs and the evening model runs. I've been looking at our evening crews, and their forecasts have been calling for chances for some snow or mix into early Monday. That's because during the afternoon and evening model updates, those models are suggesting that's going to be the case. Each morning when I've come in, those models have been drier for Monday morning. So even the forecast guidance, it's not like, hey, the GFS says it's going to do one thing, the Euro says it's going to do another, the Canadian says it's going to do another. It's not like we're just picking between the models. No, in this case, the GFS says one thing 1 minute, and then 12 hours later it says something else, and the Euro's doing this and then this, and they're all over the place. So the confidence in the exact details and timing of the weekend, all of this, there's still some question. As to precip type, I feel pretty good. Starting to get a little more confidence that we're going to see, obviously, the rain chances on Saturday, and then the mix or snow will probably start edging this up more medium to high. If the models will just lock in and show us kind of the same output for Sunday into Monday, hey, we're good, all right? Right now, there's still some uncertainty kind of going back and forth. So I'd say moderate confidence in that. For snow totals, none of the models are going crazy. I could even adjust this down a little bit because if we do get those heavier snows or the snows kind of hanging in across central Virginia, some of that may push in. But right now, it's looking, as it has been, that the snow would be fairly light, that this wouldn't be a major winter event for Southeast Virginia. Again, that could change, so there's still a little bit of uncertainty there, but at this point it doesn't look overwhelming, and we are talking rain on Saturday. As we get into the timing, there's a lot of uncertainty on this because the models keep flip-flopping, and until we see them really all trending in a similar direction, it's hard to hang your hat 3 days out, 4 days out. So we'll tell you how things look, which I've done now. That's how things are looking when we get into the forecast based on what I see this morning. But just know there's still some wiggle room, and we may have to adjust it. And that is why I tell you, keep checking back. It's not just a ploy to get more viewership or, ratings or clicks or whatever. No, if you want to know what's going on, know this. Things are changing up, and the best thing you can do is look for these updates, and we are providing them round the clock through our digital platforms and, of course, our broadcasts as well. Temperatures today in downtown Norfolk could see mid to upper 40s. I think it's going to be colder, more like low to mid 40s on the beaches. Temperatures a little warmer down to the south and away from the water as well. Low to mid 40s for the peninsula, middle peninsula, eastern shore, upper 30s to low 40s. Clouds rolling in. They're going to thin out later today, but we do have some clouds on the increase. North Carolina, a little more sunshine again, upper 40s and mid 40s at the Outer Banks. I expect the official high in Norfolk to be somewhere in the low to mid 40s. Temperatures tonight down around 30, a little cooler inland, but not as cold as it has been. These are much more close to the average lows for this time of year. As we look ahead to tomorrow, 46, so mostly sunny, not as cold, and certainly warmer inland. Looking ahead to Saturday, it gets warmer as well, all the way up to 53. We've got that chance for showers late in the day. And then as we go, I say late in the day, developing late morning and continuing into the latter part of the day, into the afternoon. Should probably dry out during the evening if the models are holding true now. And then that chance for rain to mix on Sunday, especially during the afternoon. And this is the area where it gets fuzzier. I do think Monday's going to be fine. For Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we should see clearing skies. Just low risk of a few flurries earlier in the morning and probably pre-sunrise, if there's anything hanging on at all. Generally should become mostly sunny later for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. After that, the cold air settles in, lows dipping into the 14 to 15 degree range. If we hit those will be the coldest temperatures we've seen, surpassing what we got this morning, down to 19. It'll be even colder. And as we look forward, I would be surprised. That will probably be the coldest air that we see all winter. Eventually, as we get into February, those temperatures start ticking back up. And this is really unusual for us to have this super cold air. Now, one more thing. I told you we would look ahead, and now we're going to look up. We'll turn our attention to the skies. As a matter of fact, you want to look up all this month because some of the planets are going to shine bright, and it's going to be the alignment that folks are going to want to check out. All right? As you take it, this is what NASA is calling a planet parade. All right? Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars are all going to be visible overhead. And while Uranus and Neptune can be spotted using a telescope, they're all going to be out there as well. So it's definitely something you want to check out. This weekend, Saturn and Venus will appear just about a finger's width apart, making it seem like they're aligning in the sky. And what I mean by that, when you're standing on Earth and you look up to the sky and you put your hand out at length, you'll see as you look out there about a finger width. So they're going to be very much aligned. Really, really neat stuff to see. All right, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. Again, if you want to find me on social, here's where you can do it. Craig Moeller on Facebook, at Craig Moeller TV on Instagram, and you can follow me on X there at 13 Craig Moeller. We're going to be taking your questions and addressing weather topics that you want to know more about right here from the weather desk, and it's something that we're very, very excited to do. So if you've got something you'd like us to dive into with more explanation, if you'd like to hear more about this or maybe a little less about that, we're open to kind of steering this show and making it about you, our weather consumers, and a lot of folks are so interested to find out. So that's one way to reach me. We'll be reaching out some other ways in the coming weeks. We do enjoy doing this again, and we do it every single day, Monday through Friday, right here on 13 News Now on our Plus app. It's a great way to, again, stay connected with us. If you are away from the television and you don't have the ability to sit down and enjoy it on 13 News Now Plus on Fire TV, Apple TV Plus and Roku, you can download the 13 News Now mobile app. That's a great way to do it as well. So you can get different updates, and we will, of course, keep you updated as local storms develop and as we have major impacts to our area. We will keep you updated from 13 News Now. All right, again, I hope you had a great time with this edition of the Weather Desk. We'll invite you to come back and join us weekdays starting at 9 o'clock right here. Have a good one.